So in this video we'll talk about the parenchyma cells. So as we have already discussed that parenchyma is a simple tissue, uh, simple permanent tissue. So it will have living cells which contains a plenty of water. Why this living cell consists of of plenty of water? Because these parenchyma cells, they are having a specialized structure inside their cell, and that is called as vacuoles. Suppose if this is the parenchyma cell, half of the cell is made up of vacuoles, okay, and the work of this vacuole is to store water, and this is the reason why they are having plenty of water. Okay, now the cells of parenchyma, they have prominent nucleus, means they have nucleus located at their center. As you can see in this figure, the cell wall of the parenchyma cell, they are very thin walled structures. Okay, now the cell wall composed of cellulosic primary cell wall only. Now the cell wall is made up of chemical or cellulose. Okay, no lignin deposition, that is not very important. You all only have to remember that it consists of vacuoles which has plenty of water, then it has a prominent nucleus, and the cell wall which it contains is very thin, and the intercellular spaces between the parenchyma is not so prominent, मतलब बहुत कम स्पेस है. ओके, बहुत इट मीन्स कि सेल जो हैं वो उनके बीच में थोड़ा थोड़ा स्पेस फिर भी एग्जिस्ट करता है. जब हम लोग कॉलेनकाइमा पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें पता चलेगा कि द सेल्स विच आर देयर, दे आर वेरी कॉम्पैक्टली अरेंज. उनके जो बीच में बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेस नहीं होता है. ठीक है, now we will move to collenchyma. Now collenchyma consists of the cell wall, as you can see. Comparatively, if we compare the collenchyma cell wall and we compare the cell wall of parenchyma, you will see that the collenchyma is having a very thick cell wall. Okay, and because of the thick cell wall only, they are very compactly arranged. They also consist of vacuole which stores the water, and they are having very thickened corner. Just now I told you protoplasm means cytoplasm, जिसमें कि न्यूक्लियस रहता है. तो when nucleus and this space is present inside the cell, suppose this is cell, okay, nucleus is located at the center, so this space and this nucleus together is known as protoplasm, and this space which is there inside the cell is known as cytoplasm, if you all have read the cell chapter carefully. Okay, so moving on to the characteristic of collenchyma. So collenchyma is also a simple permanent tissue. Why it is called as a simple permanent tissue? Because it is made up of same type of cell. Okay, then typically found in the shoots, leaves of the plant. Okay, shoots as in stem of the plant, and leaves of the plant, collenchyma tissue can be found. So about the structure of the cell, we have already seen that they are having very thin walled cells. Okay, but the corners of the cell, they are thickened because of the cellulose or the thick cell wall. This tissue gives strength, particularly in growing shoots. So the stem, the roots, they get their strength from this collenchyma tissue. Why? Because they are having thickened cell wall, and that thickened cell wall makes the cell inside the plant very strong. Okay, that is why these cells provide strength to the plant. Due to the thickened corners, the cells are tightly packed and have fewer intercellular spaces. I have already explained this, that parenchyma cells, though they are having little bit of spaces between them, but when we talk about the collenchyma cells, they are having so thick cell wall that the intercellular spaces between them is not so prominent or not so visible. Okay, so they are very compactly arranged. Moving on to the next tissue, which is sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is also a simple permanent tissue. Again, I am repeating, simple permanent tissue means that permanent tissue or those group of cells which cannot divide, but those cells which are almost all the cells which are of similar type in their appearance. Now, cells are dead at their maturity. Now, sclerenchyma cells, earlier they were living when they were made, but slowly and gradually they become dead. Cells do not have protoplast when they are completely developed. So they do not have protoplast, as in just now I told you that what is the meaning of protoplasm. So when this is the cell, the space inside the cell and the nucleus together is known as what? protoplasm. Just now I am repeating it again. So the cell, when they mature, they lose this protoplasm part, okay, and have thick secondary cell wall, and the cell wall which they contain is very very thick, as it is visible in the picture, okay. Secondary cell wall is lignified and very hard and show intrusive growth. So you can this, now we have completed all the simple permanent tissue where the cells, they are permanent, they cannot divide further, and they are made up of same type of cells. Now moving on to the complex permanent tissue. As I have explained, complex permanent tissue means the cells are permanent, means they cannot divide, and complex means they are made up of different type of cells. Different type of cells means the cells together inside, present inside them, which are forming the tissue, are of different structures, okay. So one major thing which we will talk about in this complex tissue is about xylem and phloem, okay. Again I am repeating the thing. Permanent tissue are of two types. One is simple permanent tissue, one is complex permanent tissue. In complex simple permanent tissue, the cells which are present inside the tissue are of similar type. They appear similar in their appearance. But when we talk about complex permanent tissue, the cells which are present inside the tissue, they are having different structure. For example, some cell will be having the tube like structure, some will be circular in their structure, some will be having some other type of structure, right? So this is what is called as complex permanent tissue. So first complex permanent tissue which we will talk about is the xylem tissue. Xylem is popularly known as that tissue which transports water inside the plant, okay. Now when all these there are different type of cells which are present inside the xylem tissue, as you can see. So one over here which you can see is the sieve cells, okay. This is the companion cell, and then here you can see there are this is a tracheid cell, this is the vessel. So tracheids and vessels, they just appear like pipes, okay. They are having pipe like structure. But when we talk about the sieve plate, as you can see, they are having somewhat circular structure, okay. Then companion cells, they are having rectangular structure. So here you can see the cells inside the xylem, they are not similar in their appearance. This particular tracheids is having different appearance, vessel is having different appearance, sieve is having different appearance, and companion cell is having different appearance, okay. So xylem is made up of different type of cells. That is why it is called as complex permanent tissue, okay. Now, among all these cells, right, when we talk about tracheids, tracheid is a dead cell, okay. Then when we talk about the vessels, that is also a dead cell. When we talk about the sieve tubes or sieve plate cells, they are also dead cells. Companion cells are the only cells which are living cells, okay, living cells. Now you must be thinking that if all the cells are dead, then how the xylem is working? So of course, for transportation of water, the cell need not to be living. Companion cells are there. Companion cells are somewhat helping the other cells in the transportation of water. That is why the name is companion, okay. Especially the companion cell help the sieve plate in the transportation of water, okay. So xylem tissue is popularly known for transporting the water to different part of the plant. So how it will transport the water to different part of the plant? uh, Wait. So if this is the root, okay, this is the plant. So plant will draw all the water with the help of roots. Now this water will move to different part of the plant like leaves, stems and the upper flowers, etc., with the help of xylem tissue which is present inside the plant, right. Moving on to what are the functions of xylem. Water conducting tissue, just now I told you, along with phloem, make vascular tissue. Vascular tissue means which helps in the transportation of fluid inside the body. For example, the vascular tissue inside our body is blood vessel. ब्लड वेसल के अंदर क्या प्रेजेंट होता है? ब्लड प्रेजेंट होता है. तो ये ब्लड क्या है? बॉडी का fluid. In the same manner, water and various other liquids which are produced inside the plant, they are transported by xylem. So xylem transports the water and the other fluids, so it is a vascular tissue. It provides supports to the plant also. Okay, now look at this particular structure. It is very very important. यहाँ पे when you will cut the bark of tree, you will find there are very various rings which are present. Okay, these rings are only called as xylem. ओके और पहले क्या करते थे या साइंटिस्ट अभी भी क्या करते हैं, टू फाइंड आउट दैट द एज ऑफ द ट्री, कि कोई भी ट्री किस एरा से बिलोंग करता है या कितना पुराना है, दे काउंट द जाइलम रिंग्स. जितना ज़्यादा जाइलम रिंग्स रहेगा उतना जो ईयर जो है वो, ये पेड़ जो है वो पुराना होता है. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे यहाँ से बार्क निकाला, पेड़ को काटा, तो देखो यहाँ पे जो रिंग जैसा स्ट्रक्चर दिख रहा है, दिस इज कॉल्ड एज जाइलम रिंग. ओके, जाइलम रिंग. जितना ज़्यादा रिंग्स प्रेजेंट होंगे मीन्स उतना ज़्यादा पुराना ये पेड़ है. तो विद द हेल्प ऑफ जाइलम रिंग्स वी कैन ऑल्सो find out the age of the plant. Okay, now moving on to the phloem transport. Phloem tissue. Phloem tissue is again another type of tissue which is used for the transportation of food inside the plant. Okay, now whatever now as we all know that photosynthesis will occur in the leaves of the plant. Okay, because leaves consist of chlorophyll which help in the photosynthesis. Okay, so whatever food has been produced in the leaves has to be transported to the other parts of the plant also, like for it has to be transported to the flowers also, fruits also, then stem also, roots also. So this transportation of food in the entire body or entire structure of the plant is done by the phloem tissue. Just like the xylem tissue is made up of different type of cells, in the same manner phloem tissue is also made up of different type of cells. So here you can see that wait, here you can see that again here xylem parenchyma is there, sieve tube is there, companion cells are there, all the cells in the phloem is different. Okay, now a system of vascular tissue runs through all the higher plants. It evolved as a response to the increase in size of plant which caused a progressing separation of roots and leaves in the space. So just now I told you photosynthesis is done in the leaves, but other parts of the plant are not getting the food. So how they will be getting the food? With the help of the phloem tissue. Phloem tissue is going to transport the food to the other parts of the plant. Okay, moving on to another, now we will move on to the animal tissue. तो एनिमल टिश्यू में द फर्स्ट टाइप ऑफ टिश्यू दैट वी हैव इज द एपिथेलियल टिश्यू. एपिथेलियल टिश्यू कवर्स द surface of the body. Okay, so when we talk about epithelial tissue, just imagine that we are talking about skin. So skin covers the maximum part of our body and skin is the largest organ of our body. So the tissue from which our skin is made is called as the epithelium. Okay, now this epithelial tissue are of different types depending on the type or the shape of the cell they contain. For example, there are certain epithelial tissues which are having squamous a square like structure. Okay, as you can see in the first picture, square like structure. Okay, so they are called as squamous epithelium. Then some are having cuboid like structure, so they are called as cuboidal epithelium. Then some are having very long tube like structure which is called as columnar epithelium. Okay, in the same manner you can see there are stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal epithelium. So they are different type of epithelial tissues, and the main work of the epithelial tissue is to provide protection. Okay, protection from what? Protection from any kind of mechanical damage occurring to the body, or protection from bacteria and viruses. Okay, now when we talk about skin consists of epithelial tissue. Now skin is also a protective organ because skin is protecting the internal muscles, bones of our body. Okay, so when we talk about the epithelium, we are generally talking about the protection. Okay, in the next class we will discuss more epithelium in more details.